Welcome to the DaftSouls podcast. My name is Matt Lees. I'm joined by Quentin Smith.
Hello, Matt.
And this week we have a special guest, Pip War.
Hello.
How you doing, Pip?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm well as well. I've actually had a fun time of playing games over the past week.
You've been playing so much, man. It's a complete reversal of your character. Usually you don't play games. Usually you hate them.
I hate video games, yeah. It's one of the best kept secrets in the industry. No, I think I kind of go through waves of like work, and don't have time to play any games. And then I kind of just burn out, and then I just recover by spending 2 or 3 weeks just playing games, which then allows me to talk about them again. So it's kind of
You sure made playing games for a living sound like a hostile ecosystem just then.
No, it's more to do with my approach to creating stuff rather than games. It's fine.
I've played, aside from Street Fighter 5, and people can listen to the Contender podcast on the Cool Ghost Network if they want to hear about.
Yeah, that'll be up tomorrow.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah, so the Contender will start tomorrow, which is your little podcast series.
Yeah, short 25-minute weekly podcast about Street Fighter 5, how it's going, training, and all beginner focused and learning why it's great, why you should get involved, how you should get involved, and then why it's awful. But we'll spike the why it's tough and difficult to fight.
But why? How do you do a montage if it's only audio?
You listen to like
Training montage.
20 seconds of each episode, and you hear me sort of like become increasingly browbeaten and sad. But then, like, get
and
happier
then you hear
again.
the sound of a controller being thrown across a room.
Yes, yeah. That's why I think people need buy fighting sticks, because you can't throw them because they cost like 200 quid. So
Yeah, I was wondering,
pick
have you
it up
got a
and then go,
fighting
"Oh,
stick?
yeah, sorry? No, I have not, but I'm already learning why I want one.
Really?
But I've actually, in terms of a game I can talk about, I've been playing something quite sweet this week. I've been playing Stardew Valley.
Oh god, no!
I looked
Listen, I've
at
been
that.
playing like so much of this. It's unreal.
Oh, Stardew Valley?
Yes. Have you not seen? That's all I've been doing.
Okay, that's good. When was the
played
last
it,
time
like-
you and I have actually both played a game?
I know, right? And like I was actually like I've played it for about 14 hours in the past 2 days. And I was really worried that I was going to come and you guys were either going to be like, no, I'm not interested in that, or I've played it and I didn't like it. Because it's like, this game is hot shit.
Oh, I played it and didn't like it.
I'll kill you. No, this is one time, because this happens often. We disagree on things, but this is a game that I just love so much that I'm like, I'm not interested in anyone who doesn't like it.
I don't dislike it.
Fundamentally.
Pip, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say I have looked at pictures of it because John Walker messaged me and said it will be your kind of thing.
Yeah, you'll love it.
And I'm looking at the description going, this will be my kind of thing. And I looked at the art style and I'm like, I am going to bounce off this game.
You don't like the SNES era art?
I'm not a fan. So
It's not
like
actually-
sometimes it kind of
yeah.
gets in the way for me. But like I'm willing to give it a go. It's more just it's not top of my list and kind of the graphics is part of that for me.
We should
Yeah.
mention quickly that Stardew Valley is a Harvest Moon.
Yeah,
Secretly.
well, it's sort of what it is, and why I love it is it's a combination of Harvest Moon, Animal Crossing, and then it has a bit of. It has a bit of, and I don't really know what to.
Use your words, baby.
It's kind of like, I guess the only way of summing it up in a way that's clear and people get is to say it's a bit crafting gamey, but not in a way which is an immediate kind of like a killer for me. Because for me, like the weird thing is like, if I'd known before, if somebody said, oh, it's got all this crafting stuff and collecting materials and crafting stuff, that for me now as a description for a game is like I immediately turn away from it so fast.
That's what turned me off from Fallout 4. As soon as they were like, and crafting, and I was like, and I'm out.
Exactly the same. Like open world crafting, no. You're all right, no. And that's just a taste thing. It's like a taste thing and a time thing.
Enjoy your planks of wood, boys.
You fucking have fun with your wood and you're collecting nails to make a gun, probably.
Goodbye, ladies. I'm out of here.
Probably a gun. I made a scarecrow, man. I know what I'm doing.
No, you see, that's the thing, is this is different, right? Stardew Valley is lovely because it does the crafting thing, but it does it within the confines of two things. A world that makes tangible, simple sense of being like, kind of like, you cut down trees to get wood and then you mine stuff to get rocks. And you know what? Like, that
already doesn't make sense, though. I mean, like, no one is actually mining rocks in their back garden.
But I mean, like, it doesn't get to the point where you're combining, like,
So
seven...
your rock mining business didn't take off then.
So, it's worse than that, because we'll get, don't worry, we'll get to Stardew Valley, but I used to play Worm Online, which was Notch's Minecraft MMO. Well, it's not like Notch was even the lead on it, but he was the coder on Scandinavian, basically Minecraft MMO is what you'd call it, but you basically had to do everything in real time. And so I've been down real life virtual mines, tapping away for hours to claw metals out of the earth. So, I've been mining.
You've been there.
I know my mining.
Yeah, and this is basically, I think the way that the crafting works is that you've got these materials, you can do stuff with them, but it's not overwhelming. It's not like, I've got 18 frog livers. Do I keep these or not? It's like it's fairly simple, and you do end up accumulating a bunch of stuff, and you've got to choose whether you sell it or keep it in boxes. And it does have that kind of vaguely Minecrafty thing. If you've got your own little house, but then you can make a chest. And I had this revelation the other day. I'm like, hang on a minute, my chest is almost full of stuff.
Let's make another chest.
I can make another chest. Like I can, and then I was like, my house is just full of furnaces, so I'm just smelting ore. And it's like,
yeah, but it makes sense. He says with this multi-ore smelting
it's
business.
massively unsafe. I've got all these furnaces next to my bed.
This must be so hot.
I want a bigger house so I can have a kitchen so I can do cooking. But this is the weird thing: is usually all these things are a complete turn off, but I think there's a number of things that make it work for me in Stardew Valley. I think the first thing is it is finite. It's not an endless game, and when you get new recipes and stuff, it's not like a kind of endless list of things. You get this nice little visual I don't know what the word is really. It's like
visual representation.
Yeah, you get little pictures of all the things you can make, and you just select
it kind of looks like the outdoor window display of a Japanese restaurant where you get pictures of everything, and you can go, I want that.
It's a bit Argos catalogue or something. It's just being big pictures of all the stuff you want, and you go, I'll have one of them and one of them. And I've really, really got into just going and doing this stuff and building things and collecting wood so I can build a chicken hut and collecting stones. So I like that.
So long as Nintendo keep dropping the ball with Harvest Moon. Speaking of which, my fiance has been playing Story of Seasons, which is the new downloadable Harvest Moon-esque thing for the 3DS. And it's fine, it's cute. It's better than some of Nintendo's Harvest Moons that they've dropped the ball and fumbled it into a bin recently.
Well, I can't believe how lucky I am, because out of the blue, about 3 weeks ago, I started really getting the feel. I was like, I really wanted to play a Harvest Moon. And so I went online, I did my research, and I was trying to work out what the best Harvest Moon in recent years was. And there was one called Harvest Moon A New Life on the 3DS.
Yeah, that's a remake of the Mineral Town, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So it came out maybe a couple of years ago, a year ago, I don't remember. But anyway, that one was like widely considered by the community to be a good one.
Yeah.
Because you know what? Like, they've been crap for such a long time. And what I'm loving about Stardew Valley is the first Harvest Moon game I played and loved was on the Game Boy Color. And what was amazing about the Game Boy Color Harvest Moon was that it couldn't do a lot visually. So a lot of it was abstracted. So it meant that it was just like, you turn up, you've got this farm, it's grandfather's farm, clear it up. And you did have stuff like relationships and conversations, but because it was on a tiny, basically like simple screen, there wasn't a lot of art in terms of characters. There wasn't a lot of art, like cutscenes or anything like that. It was quite minimal, and it allowed you to just fill in the gaps. And what I'm really liking about Stardew Valley compared to playing Harvest Moon games over the years, what Harvest Moon games started to do was have it so you turn up on the farm, and here's a cutscene to introduce you to this guy, and now here's a cutscene to introduce you to this guy's daughter. And it was like trying to build the characters up so you can have the story, but it was doing it at the cost of your own control. Okay, so I get what you're saying and why you're comparing it to Animal Crossing now, and as much as it has no direction and you potter around and you talk to anyone. Yeah.
Here's my problem as someone who spent a bit of time playing the Animal Crossing New Leaf for the 3DS.
Sure.
It's the people are boring. Like, with Animal Crossing, there is so much love and artistry into creating characters and writing script for them. And then the first quest you get in Stardew Valley is, hey, talk to everyone. And I tell you what, I talk to all of them, and they're all incredibly boring.
Yeah, it's to be honest, the character-based stuff is very slow. Although it's not as bad as you might think. The problem is,
that's not what I want. I don't want to hear, come and meet all the characters. They're not as bad as you might think.
No. Small village.
Yeah, well, no. I mean, actually, funnily, I had that in as much as I went and introduced myself to everyone. I'm like, you're the kid with the asymmetrical haircut. Yeah, and you can see that he's spending his time in his bedroom, like, playing computer and shit. I'm like, that's okay. And there's one thing I did like is it has apparently a forking path where you can sign up to, like, basically Walmart or the local village shop and support one or the other. Okay. That might be a false choice. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Yeah.
Or it is like moving to a small village in as much as you meet everyone and they're all fine, I guess. and then maybe you fancy one of them, I guess.
Are we being so London about this?
No, man. I'm comparing it to Story of Seasons. I mean, that's a totally fair cop. But in the case of this, I'm comparing it to Story of Seasons, where it has a touch more of the characterization of that Japanese games have known to craft in slice of life games. For example, the exotic foreign archetype, or the sort of slightly more effeminate perfumer, or the very candid restaurant owner. But these are at least people with adjectives, whereas in Story of Seasons, they're writing, it feels to me, like real people. But unless you have a really delicate hand when you do that...
Now listen, like the thing about Stardew, maybe what you did, because how long did you play it for?
Ooh, not long, maybe 3 hours.
Okay, now the thing is, one of the vaguely misleading things at the start of the game is one of the first things it tells you to do is go and say hello to everyone in the village, right?
Yep.
I didn't do that. I just went and started doing my own thing and then bumped into people as I went and talked to them.
Yeah, sure, I basically did that as well.
But what happens as you play it, is that you do have, you gradually get more of a sense of the characters through a number of things. In the fact that they all have, and this is, I'm not saying it's like Animal Crossing in the fact that you fall in love with all the denizens. Absolutely not.
They all have, lives that they potter about.
They do stuff, and then you end up talking to them time to time. You get more of a sense of stuff, and then you get more of a sense as well, I don't know how it's going to progress, but there is actually a story and things do happen.
I'm sure.
But there is some of the writing is actually all right.
Man, I don't want some of the writing is all right.
Listen,
I want it's good and occasionally bad.
No,
maybe.
shut up. Because listen, right? It's not about that, right? It's not. You're not playing this for the fucking story and the characters. What
the hell am I playing it for then?
Because it's a fun farming game.
No, you're playing it because you've gotten into the loop of I'll craft this, which will let me get this, and then I can expand this field, and then I can make this piece of furniture, and that's okay.
No. I mean, but honestly, it does all of that stuff so well.
It does it quite well.
It does it so well.
It does. Okay.
Honestly, there are so many different things you can do, and it does all of them very well. Some of it is quite derivative. It handles a lot of the combat and stuff like.
Do you want to explain why there's combat in a farming crafting game?
Yeah, it's because it does. It basically is just doing the kind of runes. What's it called?
Rune factory.
Rune factory thing. You can go into the caves and you can basically fight monsters, and you can then do mining. But it's simple, but it's fun. And it's very done almost like Terraria style. But again, because it's not this sort of endless worlds to explore thing, because it is this self-contained thing which will end, it's okay.
Which will end?
Yeah. Is
there going to be a farm apocalypse? That sounds really ominous.
You can keep playing it after. I think I've seen it's the story is a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, and then after that, you can keep playing if you want, but the story is over.
Okay.
But what's nice is that as you kind of as you go, new things start to happen, and you start to get a bit more of an idea for the town dynamic and the way the characters actually think about each other. And I think what I'm trying to get across is that it looks like the art style is really bad because it does not even exemplify what the game is really like, you know? It has this sort of Japanese SNES game era thing, but it's actually really not. And in terms of the character writing, it's very understated.
No, it's Terraria meets Harvest Moon.
Yes, and when I say that the Animal Crossing stuff is there, it's not even actually about...
I think that is the unfair comparison. Terraria means Harvest Moon is fine. I think Animal Crossing is always been defined by me for the heart and the sense of place it can foster, and that is absolutely what Stardew Valley is bad at.
I'm capable of having feuds with the villagers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man.
Very one-sided and very entirely me projecting onto them.
Again, that's what you latched onto with Animal Crossing. It's not all there is. And I think it does do lots of Animal Crossing things really well. It's just that's not one of them.
I think the things it does well is everything Animal Crossing does bad. All the sort of harvesting and collecting in Animal Crossing that is kind of rote tasks.
I quite like that.
Yeah, you see, this is what
I approach Animal Crossing as if it's something to 100% sometimes.
Oh, God.
Well, this is the thing listen, maybe it's not for you.
I can't trust myself with it. I spend 5 hours fishing on the tropical island just so that I can pay off everybody's mortgage.
Oh, God.
Yeah, listen, and that's the thing. It's it's not fair to take something like Animal Crossing, which is popular for so many reasons, and just say, oh, if it hasn't got this, then I'm not interested in the rest of it. Because one of the things that Stardew does, which is really nice, is the fact that you have this museum of artifacts. You can fill it up with stuff, and it has you find things, you take them to the museum, you put them in, and that tickles the same part of your brain that the Animal Crossing kind of our museum stuff does. The fishing in Stardew Valley is wonderful. It's just a really simple...
it's fine.
No, it's good. It's good.
Do you want to describe the fishing to people at home and then they can make their own mind up?
All right, the way the fishing works is basically you throw the bobber in, you wait for the thing, it's fine.
You throw the bobber in, you wait, or you've got a bite, Matt.
Yep.
Press a button.
And you press a button, you hold it, right? But then the thing is, it then becomes, to begin with, it's really hard because you have this little fish image and you have to like keep it within the little bar that you've got. But you do that by holding down the button to make the bar raise. But then the bar has like gravity, and then if you let go, it drops and bounces. And at first, the actual process of keeping the fish within the bar is this thing of like having to kind of sometimes hold the button, sometimes
it's timing.
Like,
you need to tap it at a rhythmic.
It's not even that. It's that you've got to be like ready to change. It's really quite difficult at first, but then you level up your fishing a bit.
Is it a bit like Sega bass fishing?
I don't know.
Okay. That's fine.
That puts me to shame that I say I have no idea.
The amazing like Dreamcast game where
with the peripheral of actually flicking. Yeah.
I'm going to make a video about it at some point. But it's wonderful because what it does is it starts off and it's actually quite stressful trying to catch like the difficult fish, and it's quite hard. But then you level up your fishing and it gets easier. You get a better rod and it gets easier. And then fishing kind of becomes a lot more relaxing, and it's more just being like, what's lovely is that the way they've programmed it is that the fish, actually, the way they move around on the scale, you can kind of tell what fish it is from the way it's moving on the thing, and you kind of go, oh, okay, this is a carp, like, because you know how, and it's not even that it's like set to move up and down the bar in the same way. It's like the way it's moving.
But then it's not like you make a decision with that. It's like, oh, I think it's a carp, but then you still finish the mini game and it's a carp, or it wasn't.
But what's nice
that's
is
not a fork or anything.
No, it's not the.
Quince. Like it's like when somebody's
not everything has to be meaningful, Quince.
No, I mean, no, I get what you're saying, but you know, I'm like a fish. I'm on the line. You got to lure me.
But that's what is nice about it is at the point when it kind of gets easy, like at the point where like your bar's bigger, the fish it's more relaxing thing. It starts putting treasure chests on the thing.
Then, see this I didn't know.
You see, you've never played it enough. Anyway, like it does this thing of like you're always so quick to like get really down.
Oh no, I'm super quick. That's my bit.
That's fine, but basically, then it means like you have this relaxing thing of being like, oh, do you want to perfectly catch the fish? And I presume that if you can keep it in the bar the whole time without escaping, that's pretty hard to do that, then I think you get a better quality of fish. But then you see the chest, and then to get the chest, you need to move the bar over the chest for like a second and a half. But then in doing that, you're often not on the fish, so it means you have to kind of get the fish bar to almost caught, and then quickly try and move the bar over the treasure. And basically it just means at the point at which you're starting to chill out a bit and find it just relaxing, it adds a new mechanic which then like kind of spices it up, and it's just really smart like kind of tiered design. But anyway, it's mainly the fact that the fishing is both vaguely exciting and also deeply relaxing. And you know what, like I know that Animal Crossing had fucking lovely denizens and had great, you hated people who didn't like people. Often what I love most about the game was just going and catching fish. I just used to love going and fishing and then trying to catch a bigger fish.
Creeping up on bugs at dusk.
Yeah. And you know, like it is an ugly game. I don't like the art aesthetic that much, but it does have a great sense of place. It's a small town that you start to learn, and the people, you do actually kind of start to kind of get interesting things out of the character. I had a bit earlier today when I was playing it, right? When I was talking to this guy who's like this man around the corner who's a scientist, and I was round in their house doing some science experiments with his daughter, who I'm not romantically interested in, but she just said, oh, I'm going to go outside and get some more samples, and he turned around and said to me, you know, my daughter has a very bright future, so let's make sure that nothing gets in the way of that. And it was just like, holy fuck, did this dude just tell me not to knock up his daughter? Like, it's just this bizarre thing of having this dad basically saying, like, she's great and she's going to have a great career, so let's not get in the way of that at all. I'm just like, and then afterwards it gives you the choice of being like, do you want to tell this girl that her dad was just being weird? And I'm just like, this is quite interesting.
That's all right. It's
not bad, but it's not what I'm there for. Like, honestly, what I love about it is the fact that you get the new season, you go out, you buy all your corn, you plant all your corn, and you're just waiting for that big corn money, and then you're gonna spend it on getting some chickens maybe. And you know, something which is in this, which has not been in Harvest Moon for a while and was in Harvest Moon on the Game Boy Color and I loved, is a sense of mystery. It has mysterious elements in it from quite early on that you think, what is going on with this? Like, you walk around a town and this is sometimes this weird noise, sounds like a whale in the distance, and then it does, as you go, like tease more of that, and it's like it just has elements of being like story elements. You're like,
I'm annoyed because you're saying a lot of things that are now checking my boxes, but if I keep going into it and this is what I do to you all the time, where I get really excited about something, then you go into it and then you emerge 20 hours later and go, it's not that good. Like, I'm worried you've now sent me back in and I'm gonna emerge from Stardew Valley and be sad.
I just think that,
because I think you're getting quite a relaxing vibe from it, and I think I would be going into this looking for something it is exceptional at.
Well, you see, I think it does a lot of things really well. I think that basically it does come down to the cycle of being like, of just having like things to do, of being like, well, actually, I want to make some more sprinklers, and to make sprinklers to plant to water my plants automatically, I need to get some more iron ore and some of this. So you think, well, I'll go mining, but it becomes like a day planning thing, and it's hugely addictive just because of the fact that like it always saves the game when you go to bed at night.
That's what messes me up. That's what messes me up.
And then it starts a new day, and then you forget, and then you start walking around, and you start watering the plants, and you go, oh, I was going to stop after this day, but then you think, well, I've already watered these plants. So I'll just do this day. But it's nice that you can plan stuff. You can look at the weather tomorrow and you think, oh, it's raining. Brilliant. I have to water my crops, so I can go and I can do some fishing maybe. Or I can do this. And I don't know, like, I think if any of the different tasks I had to do, because at the moment you just find yourself bouncing between, like, I haven't done any of the animal raising stuff yet, but basically it's like you can do what you want. It's like, you got this farm. Do you want to like grow crops? Do you want to like look after animals? Do you want to go and do some adventuring? And I've started to realize that there are ways to kind of get everything you need, or like most of the things you need, by just you don't have to do like all of it. You can choose which bits you want to do, but all of the little mini game things that take part to hold things together, just seem like really satisfying and really fun. I just spent hours fishing and having a really lovely time.
It's strong, it's good.
This is quite the turnaround.
Well, no, I mean, if Matt had come out of the gate going like, oh, it's terrible, I would be like, now listen here, bucko, it's great. But I guess I just was kind of disappointed by... it's one of those games that I like enough that I get my knives out and I'm like, okay, here's why this is almost great, but not.
I think the thing is, for me, like, and this is why, like, I'm like, I love it, but I take I'm just not, like, I love it because it does something for me which has been failed to do for so many years, and that's that I remember playing...
A sense of daily routine.
No. It's Harvest Moon on the Game Boy Color was amazing. I loved it. And I've not played a Harvest Moon game since, which has actually been as good.
It's the best is Friends of Mineral Town.
So people say, but I don't know. I found that, like...
it's everything from the Game Boy Color version plus more. Like that.
Oh, okay, fine. Well, that's good, because
that's why people like it, and it's why people are staggered that Nintendo have been unable to replicate it.
It's that I think it's having enough of a light touch to have these like little events and have these things that are like story based and have this shifting change. But then also just giving you the freedom to just do what you want and be like, just what do you want to do? Do you want to go and like...
Yeah, sure. There's freedom. The actual best thing about it, though, and this will be my last point on it, is it says, "What do you want to call your farm?" And I went, "Soft farm." And then the mayor goes, "Great, you've moved into soft farm," and then everyone refers to it as soft farm, and it tickles me throughout the game. It's great.
No, it is a wonderful and silly thing, but I had a bit where like you start getting quests where people want things, and often you can, like, if you don't know what they're doing, it's great. You can just stand outside someone's house with a big fish that they said they wanted and just wait.
Like the guy from Widnell.
They're coming home at some point. Yeah, it's like they're coming, just waiting. They're coming. No, I don't know. It's really ticking all my boxes. But again, my boxes are pretty much like years of not finding that I try and play a Harvest Moon game or try and get into Animal Crossing and kind of can't. And this just sort of works for me. I'm having a lot of fun with it. But it is probably too big. There's just so much to do. And
there is a lot to do.
But you kind of know you don't need to do all of it. And that's why I'm just sort of like, I like the idea now of being like, oh, well... And it's nice that it isn't just day by day. It isn't just like, well, I'm doing this today, so I can do this tomorrow. It's not just that kind of like one-to-one thing. It's like I've just built myself a silo to hold hay, and I'm hoping before the end of the summer I can go and collect a bunch of grass to turn to hay. Then maybe have some like livestock next year. Like.
I mean, okay, so I've actually just finished reading a book on this, weirdly, called The Herdwick Shepherd, I think. It was a shepherd who I found out about his book because he's actually weirdly active on Twitter. He's a shepherd from the Lake District. This is not a game. I mentioned this on one of the Invisible Ink playthroughs, and he didn't finish his A-levels, then decided he wanted to finish his A-levels. Got them at like age 20, applied to Oxford, got in and got his Oxford degree, and then ultimately went back to work on the farm and wrote a novel about being a shepherd. But the thing he nails that I think is... so that he makes sound the most romantic about a farm and farming in general is that it's awful, and it should be a slog, and it should be difficult. But he describes your relationship to the landscape as a farmer, and I think Stardew Valley doesn't nail this, partially because it's not setting out to be a farming game. It's trying to do lots of things. But as long as we're talking about Harvest Moon, a game about being a farmer should have you developing a relationship with the seasons and with the earth like with a long-term partner, whereby sometimes it is hard and sometimes you get the worst of it and sometimes you get the best. And weirdly, on the topic of this, the moment I remember loving the most of any Harvest Moon, and I've played tons of them, was the very first SNES Harvest Moon where they go, hey, there's a typhoon coming up. There's a terrible storm you better not go outside tomorrow because it's going to be really bad. And you go, okay, all right. So you don't stay. And the music's not there. It just plays unbelievable wind sound effects. And you go to sleep and then you wake up the next day and you walk out and it's a beautiful sunny day and all of your fences are fucked. Yeah. Like all the trees are over. There's rocks everywhere. Your fences are destroyed. If you had any animals, they might have escaped. And it's this moment of walking out and going, oh my God. And that's it. Like the other side of the coin that so often you don't get in harvesting and crafting games that Minecraft offers a tiny bit of and is all the more strong for that. It's like, oh yeah, you can live off the land and sometimes the land will live off you.
Yeah.
And I think that was, exciting to me.
Yeah, I'm actually intrigued to see because I'm already being quite surprised by Stardew, by how many things how many curveballs and things it's thrown in as I go along. And I know it's quite a long game, so I'm really intrigued to see, like, even stuff with the crows to begin with. It's like, come out and these crows are eating your crops. Like, you fucking pricks. Yeah. You have to get a scarecrow, and then it's like, you make fences, and then the fences start to fall apart. And even the fact that you spend ages trying to clear up your farmland a bit, and then the next season comes, and it's like, everything's fucked together. But it's almost like, I do like that a lot, because one of the things I always used to love about starting a Harvest Moon game was just the therapeutic process of going and clearing your land so you could plant your crops at the start of the game. But it never came back. In this, it's great in the fact that, like, actually, it's really hard to keep on top of it. Trees just keep growing, grass just keep growing, and it's just like this thing of being like, you need to just keep spending time to, like, even maintain pathways so you can get around your land quickly.
It is like an awesome sign of the games industry now that Nintendo have been dropping the ball on Harvest Moon for so long, and other Japanese companies that could have run with that series and haven't. And then now we have, cheap tools, and indie devs are showing up and going, yeah, I could do that. And then they produce something completely awesome.
No, it picks it up real hard. I'm really intrigued to see how it goes. But I think they dropped the ball for so many years, and it just picks it up. Just picks it up right. Anyway, Pip. Sorry, you've been sitting there silently for a long time.
That's all right. I was thinking about the Animal Crossing weeding problem and the fact that if you don't, with your thing, it sounds like if you, even if you're there, your weeds grow. With Animal Crossing, it spitefully grows weeds if you don't come and tend it, which is really annoying. So,
that's something nice about this as well. Like, there are things that fuck you up. Like, things do happen that you just go, oh, for God's sake. Like, I've now got, for reasons I won't spoil, I've got a very large rock in a position where I do not want it. And I want to get rid of it, but I can't indefinitely.
A spiteful monolith.
And that's kind of annoying, and it means I'm now building my farm around this rock.
I had a great experience in Animal Crossing where it asked me where I wanted to put my house, and I'd run around, I got to know all the people, and there was a sort of forest in my town next to a river, and I went, this is awesome. I'm going to have a secluded, a Baba Yaga house in the middle of nowhere. They built it, and then
she could go anywhere, couldn't she?
Oh, well, she could. Yeah, that was a bad example. I guess I just meant a house in the wilderness. But so I built one in the middle of the forest, and then 2 days later, that right next to my house in the middle of nowhere, it's like, you've got someone moving in, he's building a house. And so I met Roman the horse, who was, to all extents and purposes, a twat. And had this Greco-Roman house and was just super competitive. I was like, what are you up to, neighbour? And I loathed that fucking horse.
My favourite thing was when you used to send the neighbours letters, it just did spell checking to see whether you'd done a good letter.
Oh, really?
And so I used to send them all these abusive, creepy,
but perfectly written letters.
I'm watching you kind of weird things.
And then the great thing...
then it would be thanks for my letter.
I played it with Lee, and the awesome thing about sending the NPCs letters then, if you live in the same town, is that sometimes you'll talk to Diana the deer. Diana the deer will go, hey, I got this really nice letter from Pip, and then show it to you and you can read it, and it'll go, I'm watching you. And Diana will say, isn't it nice?
Yeah, you see, I found that was when Animal Crossing was the most fun. It was not really about the characters. It was more you playing in the same world as other people and leaving almost comedy traps for each other.
You can do a few different things, but it's like Pip says, it's not
pitfall seeds outside their front door.
Yeah, it's not just Lee did an amazing thing of reversing all the furniture in my house, which must have taken fucking ages. But the classic American dorm room thing that you walk in, you go, I'm in the wrong room.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Everything is.
They do that in the twits, don't they? way, that's how they end up like super gluing their heads to the floor because everything's upside down. Like the birds have like glued the furniture onto the ceiling.
Yeah.
And then they think they're upside down.
But no, you mentioned something earlier, Pip, which is that the characters in Animal Crossing have enough. They still have personality, but it's also, and this is why I talk about them as an artistry to how it's done, because they have really strong personalities, but there's enough room within that personality for you to decide how you feel about it, and it's you imprinting on them like, I hate this bird, I want him to leave town, like a weird spiteful homeowner.
And then they do leave, and it's good.
Or
you try and keep them. You have to talk to them enough that they stay. Like, I had a few that were like that, and they kind of annoyed me, but I'd grown attached to the annoyance, and so they'd be like, oh, I'm thinking of leaving, what do you think? And you'd be like, no, do not leave.
Oh yeah. And sometimes they will anyway, because that's life.
I'm bullying you,
I was
sending you horrible letters.
Can you have gay relationships in Stardew Valley? I'm sure
I think you probably can, yeah.
Because there's a boy, I'm like, sort of, it's the, weirdly, and this maybe explains, I don't know if it explains anything, but there's a boy the boy who's on his computer all the time with the floppy hair.
That's when you start pointing.
What's his name?
I don't know.
Oh, wow.
I don't talk to a lot of the people.
Some community member you are.
Honestly, I go to the events
Stephen.
and I resent the events because every time there's a fucking day event, it's always when I need to pick up something from a shop and I'll go and the shop's locked and I'm like, where's the shop? Oh, it's a fucking like dance.
You're like a real farmer.
I am. It's funny because then you go to like the fucking like flower dance and it's like, hey, welcome to the flower dance. Maybe somebody will dance with you and you go around and say to everyone, well, do you want to dance with me? And everyone goes, no, I don't want to dance with you. And then you go, all right.
You're definitely a real farmer.
And then you watch other people dancing without you and then you go, fine. But some of the events, like the day events, to be fair, are brilliant. Like, because I had one which was like, it was called the Potluck Festival. And it's where like the governor from another town comes and then you all as a town collectively make this big pot of soup and you can choose to put something in the soup.
Like a CD.
And then like, well, yeah, that's the thing is you could put something really nice in and make the soup lovely. Or if you want to, you could sabotage the soup and put something horrible in there. I put in a fish.
Like booze in the soup?
I think you can put whatever you want.
Like, is there booze in the game? Like,
you can go and buy beer from the. So I think you could. Huh. But that's the thing, is this wonderful thing of it just suddenly being like this one day and then the governor's like, this soup is very average. And I was like, oh, fuck you, buddy.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you cooked the fish or scaled it before.
I just chucked it in, man, I don't care.
Well, so, the thing I was going to say is that in my sort of like gentle, it's similar to you. I think, remember how often you'll play games and you go, oh, this is bad, and I'll say, but you don't have to do it. And then you'll go, but you'll have done it anyway. Like, that's me with Stardew. That you are able to ignore all the people that live there. But me, looking for personality, scratching at the surface, I spend every single day, I go and listen to the barks of everyone because they're there and because I want to learn about them.
No.
And I'm disappointed by every...
Well, I think maybe because
it seems silly.
That seems silly, yeah. I mean,
I want to become an upstanding member of the community, although...
Well, then you're not playing the right game. It's a game about farming.
Okay, well, what this has created, though, is, like I say, that kid with the floppy hair who's in his basement all the time with his computer, like, he doesn't want to be there, and so I'm playing the game going, yeah, I'll do him, because like he's the only person like me who doesn't want to be there, who like is dreaming of the big city.
Maybe you could start commenting on each other's live journals.
Oh, I would do that, man. I would absolutely do that.
Or like you could beta his fanfic.
Oh, that is a bit 21st century for me.
To be honest though, like I like the fact that on the list of all the people,
really late 20th century.
On the list of all the people, it tells you who's single.
Yeah,
I wonder if like people might get like, because I kind of like the woman who does who does all the repair work on the house.
Carpenter.
She's married.
So you think it'll change in year two?
Maybe they'll break up and I can swoop in there.
I mean, I've talked about this before, but something to see.
You're playing the Archers.
Well, it does have like this kind of weird, like, I don't know, it has this weird sort of plot about this town, like this big company coming in and trying to take over town. I don't know what's going on. I don't know.
But it has wizards.
It also has wizards, yeah.
I mean, I think that is an element borrowed from Harvest Moon, which it did not need.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like the thing is though, as well with Harvest Moon, is you don't go around. I mean, that's the thing is like you're going around talking to everyone. Like, you don't do that in Harvest Moon.
You do.
No, you don't. In Harvest Moon, you get the fuck on with making crops. Or,
it depends how you play it, man, because everyone is a character to be maxed out, and even Animal Crossing doesn't have that.
I think what I always knew about Animal Crossing was the fact that, like, in a way, to begin with, you just ignore all that stuff because there will be plot events that will give you a better judge of all the characters, and then when you have a better judge of the characters, then you might start making friends. But up until that point, you just let their shit. You gotta make money farming, man.
Let's put the brakes on the farm cast.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think we need to step it up to
the rails are gonna break.
Drive this tractor through the wall.
We should have all done like theme things and played like Tractor Simulator.
I don't know why. Maybe I'm tired, but I thought in my head you were going, we should have all done, and then you were going to have named a drug. I much prefer.
I don't know. I think you're a weird guy. That's all I'm saying. And I think
I'm looking for human contact.
Yeah, no, I think that makes you really weird. A really odd guy. But no, I think that there's a lot to be said for the fact that, like, yes, like these things. But one of the main reasons I loved Animal Crossing in the end, I liked having the twee characters. I liked the fact that I didn't like them. I had so much fun writing comedy letters to them and letting my brother read them and vice versa, and taking over each other's houses and doing this mad shit. But actually, after like the initial kind of like, oh, this is funny, this is fun, what I played Animal Crossing for a long period was collecting all the butterflies, collecting all the fish, and making fuckloads of money on coconuts. That's fine.
Yeah.
And this is what this is doing for me. The banana economy is
strong in Pitville right now.
Absolutely. Good for you.
Not a euphemism.
Wow. I'm putting the brakes on. I'm getting off. I'm walking off in the direction of a field.
But now, Pip, you've just listened to us talking about a game you've not played for a while. So let's do the reverse, because you've been playing...
No Man's Sky.
Wait, oh my god, how much of the lead did we just bury right now? That we're talking about Stardew.
I did tell him this before.
I didn't know this. I'd have been like, Matt.
I really like Stardew Valley.
I published like a whole feature about it.
But I didn't know you could talk. Okay, let's talk about.
Fine, we're going to do this for the rest of the podcast now. But like, you just elongated that because you were like trying to harsh my Stardew vibe.
No, I understand. It's all my fault. I'm sorry.
Or, I mean, we could talk about Viscera cleanup detail.
I can talk about Viscera cleanup detail.
But we can do that anytime.
Yeah, no, that's
I mean, we
fair.
can do anything anytime.
Let's talk about No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky.
How much of it did you play?
So I went to a preview event over in their Guildford offices last week. So I got maybe, I think it was about 45 minutes with the game.
Okay.
It was supposed to be half an hour, but I got really lost in a cave system.
So did they let you do the classic thing of going to a randomized planet, or did they put you down on a planet that was awesome?
Basically, it was a sort of slightly curated demo in that, like, they'd upped the resources a bit and stuff like that to, like, try and get you to the point where, like, obviously you can't, but like the idea was to give you a sense of sort of 5 hours worth of playing, but in half an hour.
Okay.
And so like there's like a bit more in the way of resources, and I think, you know, other stuff had been sort of arranged a bit. Like Sean knew where we were going to be to start with. Sean Murray from he's the managing director of Hello Games, and so I watched him play it for a little while he was explaining like the game and, like, you know, the interface and stuff like that. And then that's when I got a hands-on and could like wander around the same bit and then take off in my spaceship and go to nearby moons that he hadn't actually visited, so he didn't know what was going to be on those.
Well, okay, that's I guess what I'm most curious about, because you know, No Man's Sky can keep giving you awesome planets and go, look, there are dinosaurs, but what happened when you went to a moon? And did you think that it was a moon that had been pre-selected?
So
I heard a lot of those moons are shit. Like, well, that's the point.
No, that's why I was asking, because I think, well, I asked in the course of the interview, like, I phrased it rather clumsily by saying, how much of this is boring? But,
no, that's not clumsy. That's
perfect.
But,
yes.
like, it's because I actually quite like those sort of gaps, because it makes the, like, I think it reminded me of when someone was talking about desert golf. You know, like, there's so much of, like, okay, well, this is another level, this is like, oh, you know, and you get caught up in the mechanics of it, but then suddenly there's a cactus and you're going, a cactus, this is the most exciting thing I've ever seen.
No, it's all about contrast. Sunless Sea wouldn't be as good if you weren't like trucking between its story segments interminably through the darkness for so long.
I know, right? And so both the things that I encountered, the planet and the moon, had a kind of comparable amount of life. So I did ask, and apparently the guy who'd been there before me had had a very different experience and had been on a planet where not much was happening. And so he'd actually found, I think, a big monster creature sort of towards the end that had made, like, had sort of punctuated that in a really interesting way. But Sean was saying that that's a real risk when you're demoing the game that somebody might just get something that just like doesn't go anywhere, or a planet that isn't super interesting, and when you've only got half an hour and they've spent half of that getting lost in a cave system, then, you know, you're kind of like, oh.
Getting lost in a cave system was fun in Minecraft, though. Was it fun for you?
See, I quite liked it. The reason that I got lost in there was I went in and wanted to explore.
No, sure. That's the point of the game.
And so there were all these, like, when I was in the one... So I started off on this planet that was, like, freezing cold, and so there's a lot more of a survival element than I was expecting.
Really?
Yeah, and so...
You'd think if you can fly between planets, surviving on them wouldn't be much of a big deal.
So it's stuff like the planet that I was on was really cold, and so your suit, you build it like a thermal shield, and then you just have to charge that up periodically or find warm spaces to sort of be in. There wasn't like the other survival game stuff of like food and water and whatever. That drives me round the bend, so I was really glad about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's stuff like that, and you can die and things like that, but it's not permadeath. It's not like, oh, now you must start again. It just takes you back to your most recent save point and stuff. But yeah, so... But the reason that I was in one of the caves was, one, it looked really interesting and was a cave. I mean, who doesn't go in a cave?
Right. I mean, what kind of explorer are you? You keep saying getting lost. I think that's bad vocabulary for an explorer to be using. You were exploring a cave system.
Exactly. But I think because of the pressure that was being put on me to find a way to somewhere warm or to find the resources to recharge my shield, that was when that became a necessity as well, because the cave was warmer.
Right.
So I sort of had to sort of duck in.
And that's interesting, because if they were upping the resources in the demo as well, it'd probably just be that usually if you turn up somewhere like this in a game, where you just be like, I can't stay here, I can't even be here, it's too cold. Like, you need to come with loads of like...
You'd have to like prepare
Horlicks and stuff. Biscuits.
But
they're not essential, but it's
like, and
good.
you can sort of upgrade your suit with various tech and all of that kind of stuff. But something that happened to me was I was fiddling around with the menus while I was sort of like... I was definitely paying attention, but I was like also like fiddling and like not used to the button configurations, and so I accidentally dismantled my thermal shield on this massively cold planet, and so even with the upped resources it was just like, oh crap, where's the silicon? I really need to rebuild this thing.
Wow. What was did you enjoy yourself, most importantly?
I really did actually, but the thing is, and the thing that I will go back to that I was talking about earlier, is that thing of, did I just have a really good experience of it? Like, how will this hold up after, 5 hours? How will this hold up after 10 hours? And to be fair, if I've played 10 hours of it, I think I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
But, like, it's
But even
one
then,
of
the
those
fact
things.
that they've kind of accelerated the resources to give you a sense of playing over, like, 5 hours in half an hour, like... That again, like, you can't... I kind of feel for them, because it's not even like they're doing anything wrong. It's the sort of game where, how can you... demo that fairly in half an hour. It feels like it's
impossible. Like, I want 40 hours with that thing to even start, like, forming an opinion. So all I did was write down the things that happened to me, seeing one of the, like, bigger animals attacking one of the smaller ones, and that was going on around me. And
I mean, it's such a weird balance for a developer to have to strike, because if you fill it with too much content, everyone sees it in a few hours and no one feels like an explorer, but then you got to thin it out. Then how much do you thin it out? I remember, weird memory actually, there was I think it was called Noctis, but I might be wrong. It was a freeware exploration game. It was...
Noctis 4, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. It was a voxel-powered...
Someone mentioned this on in comments or something.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I was playing it when I was 15, so that would be 13 years ago, so like 2002, 2001. But voxel-powered, super lo-fi freeware that you can tell your planet to fly. It was No Man's Sky. It was absolutely No Man's Sky. You fly to a planet, you can land, you can wander around a randomly generated planet, but they're all dust balls, they're all ice, and occasionally you see weird structures. But a friend of mine said, like, oh my god, I found life, I found a bunny. Like, and we were all fiddling around with this thing. We were playing it for hours and hours. But he found a bunny, and we all went in the IRC channel I used to hang out in. Oh, bullshit. And then, sure enough, he sends a screenshot of a canyon, and in the canyon is just like 7 or 8 weird voxel creatures jumping around that kind of look like bunnies. And it was unbelievable. Like, it was the most exciting thing ever, purely because life was so sparse in the universe. And it's interesting to me. it's going to be interesting seeing how much of that No Man's Sky borrows, how rare it wants to make its bunnies, basically.
Yeah. I'll be super interested to see like that frequency and how it actually translates into the feel of playing and the feel of being excited as well.
Yeah, because some news came out about there's like some aliens you can talk to or something.
Yeah, basically what happens is, so the one that I encountered, you went up to it and you pressed to like talk to him, but or her. It was a scientist, and they like the text comes up on screen as
it was
kind
a scientist of like a civilized species.
Yeah, I think it was the Korvax was the name of it, but essentially they it gives you the text in alien script, in an alien like writing system. But then there's other things that you can do through exploration, like looking at monoliths and like, you know, sort of discovering more about the culture that will actually teach you more of that language. And so more of it will be written, in our case, in English, you know?
Like the Final Fantasy X?
Okay, I haven't played it, but...
You'd find books and each one of them would translate one of, I think,
Oh,
roughly.
no, I have played it. I wasn't paying attention.
Okay.
Yeah, same. I finished that game. I don't remember that, but
One of the 26 letters of the alphabet would be translated in all kinds of books.
Oh yeah, that rings a bell.
Yeah, so like you'd find one and then people would talk to you in this language and the letter E would appear.
Yeah, I remember.
And so basically the interactions become more comprehensible and you can actually understand what the thing is asking you or telling you.
Right.
And then you can pick the right response from the list and stuff. So as far as I could see, it wasn't exactly conversational, but it was learning more about civilizations. There's a very sort of Star Trek-y kind of aspect to it, is exploring and actually learning about strange new life and new civilizations, etc., etc. And so I really like that kind of thing. And the other thing is the resources side of things. There are resources, you do mine them, you do sort of make stuff, but it doesn't veer into crafting, because crafting like takes you into setting up a base and a home and stuff.
Right.
And everything that they've put in terms of game mechanics is geared around keeping you moving.
Yeah.
That's why there aren't seasons on planets. There aren't like different biomes or things like that. It's because like
you have a poke around, then you go.
Yeah, basically it's like because I was asking about like temporal stuff, like have you geared it so that the planets will eventually like crash into each other or move around, or like the stars will die, or you know, things like that. And he was saying, well, you know, not really, because people might stay in a place and say, I really want to go to the North Pole, I really want to see like this star collapse, I want to, you know, I want to do all of this stuff, and stay in this one place to do it. And so the idea of crafting sort of then ends up like, and you do it for your suit and for like upgrades to your weaponry and things like that, but you don't do it for, you know, building a home or building a campfire or building a, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's really interesting. God, can you remember the name of the water-related crafting game?
Which one? The Flame and the Flood?
No. Sci-fi.
Oh yeah, this is really recent.
I swear it begins with Aqua.
Aquamarina. No, it's like Neptunium or something. No, it's something really recent, right?
It's been on early access for a while, but it just had a
but
patch
still,
this month or something.
Submarina?
Ooh, Subnautica. We did it as a team. It's like the Crystal Maze. But that I found interesting because I've been poking around that early access and I think it's pretty decent. But it offers something that's almost the opposite, in as much as it puts a seabed that's directly beneath you, a randomly generated seabed from which you pull all your crafting, and you can go deeper or you can go laterally. But that I found interesting in as much as it providing the same alien environment as No Man's Sky, but you are entirely static. It is all about building a static structure and then reading a landscape of hills and troughs and valleys and tubes and coral that your brain isn't really good at processing. You know, like I can use landmarks, but when you're underwater, it's difficult to find landmarks. So you can create them artificially. But I found it kind of interesting that, it's completely the opposite of what you're saying, but no less an interesting design challenge in as much as find a landmark to navigate by. Don't have one, then make one.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was going to say when you said about getting lost, because he was saying that after a little while, like after dying a few times or after realising that you've lost your bearings, can't find your way back easily, you start to use the way marker like system. Like you can bring your binoculars up and then use it to sort of tag things artificially, or you know, you can also use it to like look at animals and things and find out more about them.
Oh, cool! Like a Pokédex.
You get the species information. Apparently, that will eventually like translate into a logbook kind of thing. So sometimes you will, and sometimes if it's already been seen by somebody else, that particular like permutation, then it comes up as saying it was discovered by that particular person.
Very cool.
Like with the planets as well.
Yeah, and so that's far more likely to happen than you actually bumping into somebody. And I'm kind of interested in that idea of, you get a sense of other people, other human players in the world without maybe necessarily ever seeing one.
I think the idea of I've been thinking about this, and I think the idea of like just keeping moving is really enticing to me, because I think a lot about Minecraft and why I didn't ever really gel with it. And I think what I always loved about Minecraft was, I've said this before, but starting a new world and just being in the world and just walking in a direction and finding somewhere. And I always really enjoyed making that first little hut, like that first little tiny place to stay. But then afterwards, like I kind of then felt like wherever you built your home, you kind of felt like you were somehow locked there now. You were somehow like, I mean, you're not. Obviously, you could just go and wander and keep building houses as you went. But because you need to keep building a bloody house to go to bed at night, and because it took time to make them, you just, and I don't know, like that sort of just having this expanse and exploring was always the exciting thing to me.
I think I found that quite zen, that is a very interesting decision within a crafting game of not even deciding like, I've mined all the resources here, I should probably leave. But having players go, I'm bored of this. There's nothing left for me.
Well, it's like you have the spectacle, and after that, it's like diminishing returns in a way. Like,
yeah, I get it, but I also would take that because the experience of like, I remember in Minecraft, I had a house by a beach and it was awesome, and I built it and all this great shit, and then I went, I'm done here, and I built a boat. And I sailed it off away from the beach, knowing I'd never see any of that again. And it was an awesome moment.
See, I'd really love that, because my problem with Minecraft and sort of going to a new area was that you sort of had this trail of familiarity across the land that like never quite let you forget where you came from. I mean, you could get disoriented and stuff. But
especially if you have a map,
in
it will
sea,
draw a line.
It's very different for me. It's like, okay, I'm sailing off. I'm done with this bit of land.
Or you could go to the Nether, right? And then port back from the Nether into a completely random.
Yeah, but again, it was that you just sail somewhere new, and then you jump out, and then some skeletons and zombies would kill you, and you'd be back at home, and it was a bit like Groundhog Day. I don't want to be here anymore. I'm done with this, and that's why for me the most pure like go-to thrill in Minecraft was always just starting a new game and just letting everybody work and being like, where am I? Oh, so cool, what the fuck is that?
That's kind of the thing that I find the most interesting, and the one that I want to keep picking at. And why isn't it out yet, for goodness sake, with No Man's Sky? Because, so you spawn, and there's this sense that you can go in any direction with Minecraft, right? And you can just find all this stuff that you didn't know about. With No Man's Sky, because of the way the world is built, and so you don't have those transitions between different states, so you don't have like a loading screen between the planet and the orbit and the outer space. You just get in the ship and then you take off and you just keep flying, and it's this continuous experience, and it's so strange. Like, it hasn't stopped feeling peculiar to look back on a game and have it feel not claustrophobic, if you see what I mean. Like, with space games, I still get that feeling of claustrophobia because there's a sense of boundaries still. Like, even with when I've played Valkyrie and stuff, it's like, hey, you've got this battlefield and you can see a planet over there, but if you go towards the planet, I'll tell you that, you're outside the zone, you have to turn back. And
is that loading screen fakery, by the way, that when you fly towards a planet and then it's a planet you can entirely walk around on?
See, I'm probably not the right person to ask because of
it has to be. They don't have a spherical
technology,
walking level,
but
right?
Basically, I think they've built it so that these objects exist, and they load in sort of, as far as I understood it, like you see the broad brush of it. If you see what I mean. So you'll approach a planet, and the planet exists and is a big sphere.
Yeah.
And then you'll see more things like coming into view, or at least that was my experience. There was a bit of pop in, kind of, like there's a big expanse here, and there's like,
but it kind of has to be like
you
in
start
a way.
At some point.
Oh no, of course, but at the same time, like, you just keep seeing more and more detail until you land.
Yeah, no, I mean, it sounds like an amazing magic trick, but I mean, I mean, ultimately, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, I'm asking a super boring question.
No, I mean, I'd love to know enough about the tech to actually answer it for you.
Well, it's a wonderful point of where we're at with tech now, just being like, often you're just playing stuff and you go, how is this doing this?
But
like, just because tech is getting really
I mean, we've never
good
not
now.
done that.
No, I know.
How is it displaying 32 colours at the same time?
Yeah, it's
But
true.
basically, like, when you see the moon in the, like, you know, when you're on a planet and you look up and you can see this moon looming in a kind of sci-fi novel-esque way, that's a thing you can go to. That's not a skybox painting.
So
that is a
cool.
thing.
They've rendered
that
the
you
object
can
in
just,
as much. It's so
like,
neat.
it's the object is there, and it's just that's the bit that it's showing you.
And you know what I find so fascinating about this game, just as an entity, is because like it's not. It's obviously it's incredibly hard to preview, as you found.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly hard to demo.
I think we should have like 3 different people previewing it and just have those 3 experiences like side by side down the page and just like.
And even then, you're probably still like, I don't know. Like, I mean, it's...
But ultimately, isn't that true of all games?
No.
Yeah, no, I know, but also hopefully, yeah, but no.
So this is Quinn's new reviewing strategy is just YMMV.
I mean, I still...
I mean, like, that would be great if that was the case, but you and I both know, that often you can play something for an hour and you know whether or not it's good.
Yeah.
Like, pretty much carte blanche.
Famitsu is basically the Japanese games reviewing magazine. They future-proofed the shit out of their reviewing process with, like, getting 4 people to all review every game.
Yeah, but... yeah. Anyway.
Before.
I saw, like, it was like watching a mountain rise and fall in Matt's face.
You know, I
get it, dude.
I ran into Famitsu once as an entity, and they were there in, and I always I always kind of kept them in like really high regard because Famitsu, because you know you grew up to do that.
But actually they're like the Game Informer of
they're
Japan.
like, you know, they often like, you know, it used to be that a Famitsu Perfect 40 or really close to it meant something was going to be amazing, and then stuff come out and maybe it wasn't even that good. It was like, I don't know. You start to realise that even with 4 people, they're weirdly just as fallible as anyone else. But I just remember when I went to, they were there I was on a press trip for Mass Effect 3 and I was playing the multiplayer and it was me and 3 Japanese dudes from Famitsu and they were just fucking awful. It's like they couldn't, I've said this before, but it's a little known secret that almost all game journalists are not very good at games, and that's fine, right? But these guys were terrible. Like they were just, like, they were supposed to be my allies in this, like, and we just kept getting wiped out on wave 1. I'm just like, guys, have you ever like played?
Maybe they haven't, man. FPSs
video
or third-person
before.
shooters are not popular.
I know they're not, but they were just, I don't know, they were just a bit strange.
They were just a bit different. They spoke a weird language.
I don't know.
They wore clothes. They were crazy.
They just, I don't know. They didn't seem very interested in anything.
What did it remind you the most
Sky.
of? What did No Man's Sky trigger the most sense memory of?
Do you know what? It hasn't settled enough that it has done that yet. I think it's like it's the first preview I've written in a while that I've enjoyed telling the story of.
That's
for
cool.
sure. Like, and I really loved the story that I got from it. But that's also sort of the only way that I could have written about that game, because I think it's going to be so dependent on individual experience and so sort of, you know.
Well, that's what I'm trying to convey is it's like, it's rather than being like something that you consume in a normal way, it's just like, I don't know.
Sony is big on this, man.
You know what I mean?
It was like Little Big Planet and how everyone was like, the reviewing process broke for Little Big Planet where everyone's like, it's probably great. And then, but, you know, then I go into it going, it's probably great. And then I actually was one of the poor fuckers who tried to build a level in Little Big Planet and just went, this is bad.
Yeah, no, it was bad. But
I tell you what, I played the top 10 levels that other people around the world had made with more patience than me, and they were amazing.
Yeah, but still not a good platformer.
Something that Sean mentioned a fair few times while we were talking was The Long Dark. And
great game.
I do have a real sort of sense of that from it, in the sense of like it's such a beautiful thing to experience. And so I was asking about like, will there be a screenshot mode? And he was, I think the intention at the moment
there should be a space selfie stick, shouldn't there?
I don't want. Like, the only way you'll ever find out what you look like, I think, reading a different interview
is if another player sees you.
Yeah, basically.
It'll be awesome if everyone has, like, Rust with a different, like, body type.
Everyone has a different size dick.
Well, actually, I was going to say different size
It's like,
body.
you're the dinosaur all along.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone has a really visible giant space dick.
Like like a codpiece in the
But
armor.
they've worked out the odds of people bumping into you are so low that it's like, it's fine for months. And then somebody will be like, oh my God.
Or just one player in 10,
Yeah.
What was I saying? I can't remember what I was saying.
Sorry,
You were saying that the only way that other people can find out what you look like is...
No, but before that... Oh, man. Oh,
Long Dark.
Yeah. And so, so I think the intention for the screenshot mode is going to be a sort of, if you stay still for a while, then the UI goes away and you can...
Oh, cool.
take
That is an elegant solution to that problem, isn't it?
Yeah, and so that's the thing that I think more than any of the others will keep me positively exploring rather than just because my digital body needs a thing or needs to not have a thing.
People should know by now that Firewatch, because journalists spoiled it and now I feel the seal is broken.
No, I haven't played it yet.
Oh, no, the camera?
Okay, yeah. Oh, no, you mentioned that when we were on the podcast last time.
Oh, there you go.
Nice. So the journalists I'm complaining about
It's you.
are me. So Firewatch is a camera you can take photos with, and then also at the end of the game you can send them off to get printed by a real life.
I went for it. I've got some.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Aww.
I thought it was nice. I took some nice photos. I thought I'd get them.
Very cool. So I would like something like that out of No Man's Sky, like a... it's what I wanted from Destiny, actually, as well. I think I don't even need numbers to go up. I just want, something creative.
But that's why I'm going to wonder. I'm going to wonder what the response is going to be, and I'm going to wonder how it reviews as well. Because how do you review something like that? I don't think
know, right?
not to unfortunately,
I guess
you can't really say that massively. But I don't think it's the sort of game that on a broad scale we kind of have the critics to deal with properly.
No, it's fine because if there's enough,
if I'm honest,
if there's enough marketing behind a game,
it doesn't matter. Everyone will love it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. No Man's Sky will review well.
It's fine.
Maybe it will be the interesting thing where people read all of these reviews and just see, really easily represented, that people have different experiences of games.
Maybe. It's kind of a bummer that we can sit here discussing, how will the Game Press deal with it, but I think Sony figured this out before us, Sony looked at this and went, oh yeah, that's amazing brand ambassadorship.
Oh, well, either that or there'll be a massive backlash. At this point, it could go either
I can't remember that, but look at Little Big Planet. If ever there was going to be a game that was...
Yeah, but there wasn't as much... It's not the same kind of hype at all. Little Big Planet was it's twee and fun. And when it came out, it was twee and fun.
Yeah, which is why...
Whereas this came out and it was oh my God, this is going to be the best game ever. You can do anything. The level of expectations for No Man's Sky, compared to Little Big Planet, just totally different ballpark.
I think I agree, but I think there's stuff in common, and I think it does not need to worry.
There is, but
reviews.
No, maybe not. I don't know. I just think it's an interesting one, and I don't know. In my head, I'm not expecting it to be like a kind of game. I'm expecting to just sit there and listen to 65 Days of Static in the soundtrack and just explore stuff, and it just be almost like a zen. Thing.
I think every games reviewer...
I don't know if I'm going to enjoy that or not.
I think every games reviewer is going to come into work and relish the opportunity to type a review that begins... I'm on a mountaintop. I am alone. I haven't seen another player in 2 hours. Fair cop, I would have done that back when I was putting numbers on things for money.
See, I wrote about getting lost and then watching a creature eat another creature's butt.
Yeah, but you're different, which is why we have you on this podcast. I think all those reviews are going to show up, either your kind or my kind. Everyone's going to put an 8 or a 9 on it. It's fine. Everything's okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
The status quo is maintained.
But no, I'm just interested to see how general people kind of react to it. I'm less interested. I'm more interested in the how it's perceived, not really the reviews.
Yeah, I think almost public response is going to be more interesting than the critic response.
Because I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
We'll find out.
That's what I found.
When's it out?
It's the 21st of June. And because they announced the pre-ordering and the actual release.
Oh yeah, because I saw that you can buy a model toy ship.
I've sort of lost I've lost connection with what people think of things to the point where now I just I don't know, like everyone went nuts for Super Hot, and I played it and thought it was just okay.
You and I both completely agreed that
I
Super
really
Hot.
loved Super Hot, but I haven't picked up the main game, and I don't know why.
Oh no, that's it. I loved Super Hot as what it was, but the actual game, it does nothing for me. Like, I don't know why. It just feels like maybe
a proof of concept is very different from like a product you pay for.
It is. It absolutely is.
I feel like we're overrunning. Should we?
Yeah, we should jump some questions.
Let's do a Super Hot question.
Let's do a Super Hot question.
If you're not aware how questions work on the podcast Cool Ghost, we have the best question system ever. It's a discuss thread on. If you go to coolghost.net and click on DaftSouls, you can navigate really easily to our questions thread, which is a comments thread. But whenever we answer a question, we delete it, and everyone can upvote what kind of questions they want to see answered.
Yeah. So basically, if you want to do this,
questionocracy.
It is.
Yeah, it actually is, and it's one of the few times where meritocracy actually kind of works. Okay, so if you want to do this, you go to coolghost.net, and then there'll be a Daft Souls button, and then you click Ask Us Questions, and then you'll be on that page, and voila. But actually, if you just go onto the page, if you are listening to this podcast, if you go onto the site, there will be a Daft Souls page, and then with that, on the Daft Souls post, it'll be easy. Just go to coolghost.net. Anyway, question. David Hutton. Sorry, I'm losing my marbles.
No, it's all good, man. Here we go.
David Hutton asks, when choosing a new game to start, actually, this is sorted by newest.
Sorted by newest. This isn't the questionocracy I was led to believe.
It was like a spy.
I've started it. We're gonna break the system once.
Oh my goodness.
It's not a bad question though. I think it would.
Okay.
It says, when choosing a new game to start playing, do you factor in how it may complement or contrast with other games you're currently playing, whether in tone, genre, or mechanics? Do you think doing so does enhance your enjoyment of the games, or doesn't matter at all? Do you know? I do. I definitely do.
I think I find that I'm in the mood for particular things, and maybe if I've been playing a lot of one kind of game, I find myself in the need for another one. But it's more in the sense of I have played so much Dota recently. I really just need something small that isn't going to take over 1,000 hours of my life. Or it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, I completely get it. I'm a weird mutant because I have a Steam Press account, which means every day I go,
hate you.
What's new? And then I look at whatever's new and good and go, I'll have it.
Yeah,
which is why
you can binge stuff without thought. But I have to send emails.
Or
actually, mostly spend money.
When I buy stuff on PS4, it's a capital D decision.
I'm friends with the RPS Press account.
Our friends,
just because it's the one that I have to use.
The definition of friends with benefits.
Well, it's the one that I have to use otherwise. But at least that way, like if two people need to be playing a thing for review, then.
To be honest, I just mostly buy stuff, but it doesn't mean I am like. I think that's not.
I think it explains with you're like a weather forecast man that you're like. I think I want farming with a hint of crafting.
Yeah, it does tend to mean I do a bit of research before I buy stuff because obviously I'm still buying stuff. It's like it's a part of kind of like my work budget in a way, but at the end of the day, it's still money. I don't like it when I spend like £8 on something and then go, "This is garbage," which does happen. It still happens. And to be honest, I don't really mind because often most of the time I'm buying is kind of indie anyway. So it's like even if like people have not made a good game, it doesn't mean they're bad. Like it doesn't mean they're bad developers. Like it might just be that it didn't pan out. You know.
Sometimes I'll retrospectively go back and buy something because I think I would have bought that and I really enjoyed it and I want the developer to like get something out of this. So
it's a great thing about Itch.io that like I paid a few dollars for Kitty Horrorshow's work and that I saw in the last Daft Souls. I keep mumbling when I'm saying important stuff that people want to search for. So Kitty Horror Show.
Actually, it's because last time we were talking about King of Dragon Pass and we got so excited when we all started talking about that we were talking over each other about the music and turning the music off just for people who want to know because there are a lot of people asking this. The game we were talking about was the King of Dragon Pass.
Yes,
so great. Sorry, we just love it so much that we got well excited
and sang at the music.
We did,
But the great thing about Itch.io, I pay a few dollars for Kitty Horror Show.
And then went back and gave more.
I play it, shit myself, and go, here's 2 more shit crusted dollars. I chose my.
I do that quite a lot actually. Like with the pay what you like stuff, I go back and think actually I'll give them some more because that was brill.
Yeah,
it's a nice way to do it.
What's our actual best question? You're still sorted by newest. You almost
best.
Okay.
Oh, it's a long one.
How much?
Who's this from, Matt?
This is from Flex Mundo. How much do you think nostalgia impacts your long-term perception of a game? Is there a larger barrier to entry to play older games than other forms of media? Absolutely, yes. I think that's it. I think then it has some like anecdotal stuff, which isn't a question. which I tend to ignore because it does specifically at the top of the page.
I tried the original Thief a while back, and it held up, but it didn't hold my interest.
Yeah.
Like, I was kind of like, it was that thing where you look at it and you go, yes, I can feel that this was good and that this is still solid and that you could play this for sure. But I just I have a sense of the experience, but I don't have the context anymore, and that's a problem.
I remember Kieran Gillen, now writer of comics, but previously founder of RPS, talking about how he went to Barcade in New York with some friends and surrounded by arcade machines from the 80s, which are like, Centipede and Asteroid and stuff. Asteroid was before, I guess. But it's
like 70s, I think.
Yes, I think you're correct. But those machines aren't necessarily interesting. But what he was able to do is walk them from machine to machine to machine. Okay, we're in 1978. This band is on the radio. You play this, and this is new. Yeah. This is also new. And then he goes, okay, next. The year later, this game. And apparently it was an amazing experience for everyone concerned, possibly Kieran the most. I think that, especially old games, sometimes you almost want someone to go, okay, yeah, you play the original Thief, great. Bear in mind, for example, every previous first-person perspective game from Thief had, guns or swords in it.
See, this is what, the other thing is, because I have never played Half-Life all the way through. I've played the beginning bit, a fair few times.
Yeah.
But it was, I will never get the sense of what a mind-blowing thing it was at the time. I will never understand that on a visceral level, and it will never go into my long-term memory as this sort of amazing experience.
I've been telling this.
It was just really good. It wasn't even mind-blowing.
It was. It did a million things that were completely new, and it piled them up on top of each other.
Yeah, it was really, really good.
It was.
But there are so many people who did find it mind-blowing, but I can never be one of them because I've experienced its legacy before I've experienced it.
It's like Quinn says, to be honest now, most old games are only of historical interest. And I think that's always been said. I was saying 10 years ago, I always thought retro games were shit. I don't get it when people still talk about, and this was from 10 years ago, now I get it even less when people still talk about Space Invaders and Pac-Man. It's they are interesting games. It's interesting to know where they came from, how they came about at the time, but are they fun? No.
I mean,
just play something else.
Games in particular suffer from this, right? That you can watch old movies and often they are still entertaining, whereas games are so
not if you go back far enough.
Well,
and that's how new games are. That's the thing, it's like the equivalent of being hey, look, this is a silent movie. This is one of the first movies ever shot. And you'd be like, yeah, do you want to watch it? It's an hour long. And you'd be like, no, I don't want to watch. It's interesting, but you don't want to consume it. And I'm hoping that we're starting to maybe get to the point where things actually will still be fun, and where there will be a period where maybe you can play a game from 10 years ago and it's still good.
I mean, it also sucks that further disrupting any enjoyment you might have from weird old graphical styles are the fact that these days indie gamers will, because it's cheaper, ape the styles of old games, which means you're oh, this is like Undertale but slow. This is like Undertale, but I have to wait for text boxes to load.
Yeah. I don't know, but the thing is, I would say that I don't necessarily know how much of that is nostalgia. I don't know it's nostalgia. It's more...
No, I think they're two different questions.
The context has been totally stripped out.
I think it's more that nostalgia allows you to enjoy things which are fundamentally bad. Yes. That's what it is. And that's we talked about with Pillars of Eternity.
Or that were really good, but that you still have that memory of the context because you're still seeing it in that way. So I guess...
But is that not nostalgia?
No, that would be, but at the same time, I don't think it's necessarily a lack... I don't know, because nostalgia is kind of like this longing for a thing that you can't get back, right?
Yeah, is it?
But rose tinted glasses, I guess, is more the...
But there's a slight difference between nostalgia and having context.
Right, I guess it's assumed that if you're nostalgic for an earlier era of anything, then you also have context because you are old.
But so for me, with the idea of, is it nostalgia that's impacting? To me, that reads as, are you thinking that something was better than it actually was?
Yeah.
Whereas, if you have the context and you're experiencing that context, you could actually understand how good it was at that time in that moment.
It's difficult for games because so many games are played specifically. Unlike movies and books, games have this super poisonous nostalgia thing because people play the most games when they're a teenager, and as a consequence of that, when you're a child and everything's exciting and it's all new, we end up as 20-somethings and 30-somethings who just want to get back what we had as a teenager.
And also, it's not just that, it's the fact that as a teenager or as a child, you have one of the things you have the most of is time. and you don't have much money, but you have a lot of time, so you have few games. Like, you know, people are talking about the price of games all the time on the internet because they're boring, but it's a thing that people talk about, and it's like you forget when we were kids, you had like maybe now we get annoyed if you can't keep up with whatever's new this week, whereas as a kid, like, you know, you got 4 games for the Mega Drive throughout the whole time you had it, and like, do you get 4 good games? You better hope so, because you're playing those 4 games like forever.
Wasn't Majora's Mask like 60 quid or something? Because you needed the expansion pack and stuff.
I spent like 60 quid on like Shadows of the Empire. Shadows of the fucking Empire. Like, the only good thing about that game was the first level with Hoth. And you know what? We just played that same level again and again and again because we completed the game, but it was all, none of it was fun apart from that first level. And you just get the fun out of it as the best you can. But I think the thing is the fundamental thing about nostalgia and the way it impacts your long-term perception of a game is the fact that really what is a game and what makes a good game.
Thank you for listening to the end of the DaftSouls.
This is simple. It is literally just you trying to open fucking oysters with your bare hands. And it's like there's something good in every game, but it's how much bullshit have you got to go through to get to it. And a great game just goes, there's no bullshit here. It's just the good stuff. But most games...
I disagree with that.
Well,
for reasons that are tedious.
Okay, fine. But basically, like, a lot of old games especially, like, had so much bullshit you had to put up with that because, you didn't have any other games, because you had all this time, we put up with so much bullshit. Point-and-click adventures, just being stuck on a puzzle for months because it was a puzzle that was crap. Like,
I phoned the helpline for Simon the Sorcerer once.
Lee and I bonded about this, that we both ran up ridiculous bills calling helplines and going, I'm stuck on level 2. Imagine being the person on that fucking helpline, by the way.
The person on the helpline couldn't help, by the way.
You have to listen to kids like who clearly sound like their mum's given them permission to call, but are also like close to tears for the duration of the call.
Like, what do we do with the sousaphone player?
I think the important thing about the nostalgia thing is it's
we figured that one out, by the way.
I'm glad you figured out the sousaphone. I think the important thing is the fact that you, during the process, when you're young, you learn to put up with the bullshit. So things like, you know, the tape, C64 tape taking like 5 minutes. It's annoying when you're a kid, but you do it so much and you play these games that you learn to forgive the things. And this is why with Stardew Valley, I played so much fucking Harvest Moon that when you're like, but the characterization is, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, it's like I have like completely as a child, and the same with like Pillars of Eternity and like the combat being bad. It's like you've learned already to just completely overlook all these things. So yeah, it's absolutely like just you as an adult, if you're talking about a game which you play as a child, you have basically no critical ability to look at it at all. Because it's too long ago, you've forgotten all the faults and you've just completely got used to them.
Well, no, you've got new context for the faults. Like, because when you're saying about the tape loading and stuff, like, that wasn't possible to do it any faster back then. Like, it's not like you could have put, like, a CD in the thing.
No, it's true. I think sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. And there are some things where I completely overlook shit. However, there are other moments where it's like an unbelievable spell has been cast. Like, you look back at Sonic Adventure 2 and you go, why did I like this shit? Like, some points you just go, I was an idiot, I was a child. Other bits, though, I don't know. I think there's so many things that we just took for granted and we just like accepted because they weren't just bullshit, they were kind of status quo.
Oh man, you know what just occurred to me? You know how a lot of indie developers now are using styles from their childhood that also happen to be cheap right now, like Stardew Valley going SNES or Undertale being like NES.
And we'll see more like
we will
PSS stuff. Yeah.
But Matt, do you remember when we met those girls? Like they were like 11, 12, and they were into Undertale, right?
Yeah.
What happened? Me and Matt were visiting a friend, and he had daughters, and we met
and they were massively into Undertale.
But it just occurred to me, like, if those girls grow up and make games, like, we actually might get an amazing recursive loop thing.
You've got like a synchrony of like nostalgia.
People making games that look like games that were meant to look like games back when they couldn't do anything more because of the tech. That would be fucking awesome.
It will probably happen.
Oh, I hope so.
But, or like people making a sort of Mario-style game going, it's just like Flappy Bird.
Down.
But I am looking forward to a point where we can actually have classic games which are playable by anyone, of being like, you haven't played this, you've got to play it, rather than being like, you didn't play Pac-Man? Never mind. Like, no one would ever say, you don't play Pac-Man, you've got to play Pac-Man. I'm bringing Pac-Man and we're playing Pac-Man.
I would say that.
Would still play
really?
Pac-Man.
No, I'm not.
Pac-Man versus on the game.
No, I'm talking about Pac-Man. Like, I'm not talking about like
fuck that.
The new versions. I'm talking about like Pac-Man.
God. How are we doing for time?
We're probably blown over. Let's call it a thing. So it's been quite a raucous one this week.
There's been disagreements,
blood,
there's been
fire,
laughter,
flames.
There's been rocks in farms.
Yeah. Oh, Matt's really pissed off about that rock in his farm.
Oh, man, I'm going to get rid of it, but it's just going to take a while. Anyway, thank you very much for listening to DaftSouls.
I've been Quentin Smith.
I've been Matt Lees.
I've been Philippa Ward.
Philippa.
Yeah, you can check out your stuff at RPS, but also you are, in the next few months, you're being full-time as a person on...
Crate and Crowbar.
Oh,
podcast, snap!
Which is going to make the podcast... No, it's fine.
I could be a official emissary or something.
Oh, please do. Whenever they make... Because if people aren't aware, Crate and Crowbar is an excellent PC gaming podcast.
Yeah.
But when those chumps don't know anything about console games, Pip, give them what for?
I'll shoehorn it in somehow. Be like, remember when?
Why does liking console games makes you old? They're old.
I think it's because I just have with you having mentioned that we're not actually part of the generation that I thought we were talking about earlier. I'm primed to feel old, especially consoles were part of my youth, man. PCs are now
kids
my
don't have
now.
consoles now. Kids are playing on.
Well, I didn't have
their
a
tablet
gaming
pads.
PC until maybe 3 years ago, when I started doing this. Or when I started, because I played loads of games, so I knew how to write about games, but PC gaming specifically was relatively new to me, whereas before I'd had an Xbox 360 and I'd had an N64 and I'd had all of that kind
Great
of
consoles.
yeah, and so that was kind of okay, but now so I'm this PC stuff is really new, and everyone just looks at you oh, for God's sake.
It's good though.
What are you
Fresh eyes. It's good. It's good. But
It's why so often people are so have you played this? I'm no.
It's good. Fresh eyes. And it means the podcast, the Crate and Crowbar, is already a good podcast, but it's going to be even better.
Damn straight.
When you're a part of it. Yeah, it's going to be great. And then in between meantime, people can read your stuff on Rock Paper Shop. Oh, we'll still be doing stuff, I'm sure.
Yeah.
We'll just arrange it further in advance.
Yeah, I know, right? With a train journey in the middle, it'd be fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
You can play games on the train. You'll be hot by the time you get here.
Well, it'll be Animal Crossing over and over.
It probably will. Thank you very much for listening to the DaftSouls podcast, everybody.
See you next time.
Bye.